This is my city of Montrose, and this is my first video that I'll be uploading to YouTube. So please forgive me if I sound a little bit nervous, and I think I also may be coming down with a cold. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I kind of largely built this city over the summer, and I think I got the bulk of it done. It's still a work in progress, but I may tweak it further in future videos. So kind of give this as a basic overview. For this video, it's just going to be basically an overview. So I'm just going to pan around slowly, so hopefully I'll won't make anyone nauseous, but I'll kind of give you a view of what I have built so far. So let's just come over this way. I've got the river bay right there with a cruise ship. So streets, also the most of the cities kind of laid out in a grid. So I think that's kind of normal for a lot of North American cities and towns. So coming over this way. Also, my main inspiration for this city is Vancouver. I kind of like the high rises on the peninsula, and I also like the SkyTrain. I think that's like a really good public transportation system that kind of weaves throughout the city and surrounding municipalities. I think that's kind of really cool. So if I haven't mentioned it before, I'll give like a more of an in-depth overview of public transportation in a separate video for this city. It's kind of extensive, so I don't want to spend the entire time focusing on that. I feel like it'd double the length of this video. And without further ado, so speaking of Vancouver, I think everyone would like to something interesting I found out. This building right here, in reality, if you look up on Google, it's called like the Ericsson building. You could just type it into Google, like Ericsson Building, Vancouver. But apparently it's actually a real building that this is modeled after. This vanilla building. It's an actual high-rise condo, so I think that'd be very interesting for people who want to look into it. I think these other kind of makes me wonder how many of these other vanilla buildings are actually modeled after real buildings in real life. So I think that's interesting. So before I lose my train of thought, let's continue on. One of the things I really like about this city that I've built is the public space usage of public space. So I think that's very important for like people who want to relax or get away. Just kind of creates nice, lovely areas. We'll go into first person here. What I like about this area here is got this nice park here. Actually, it's a vanilla park, but still. We've got the hospital right there. We've got residential buildings over there, high rises, offices. And we've got the commercial areas right by. And then Royal Square. I'm kind of pretending, if I haven't mentioned it, it's the city is, I'm kind of pretending it's in British Columbia. So also got the monorail right here, which I think is very important, as it's linked to the Central Square, which is like the CBD or Central Business District, and it's linked to the hospitals right there. So I think that'd be very important, because those are both major employment. Those in real life would be major employment centers. It would be important to provide the public transportation for people to quickly get there. So yeah, you've also got the two plazas here. You've also got the kind of pretending that's the City Hall. Also got some wildlife that are hanging out around here that, of course, we all know Canadians, and that they're super nice, so this is perfectly normal. Also, the corner here, we've got a shop building. I actually like this building, especially because of the rounded corner right there. I know some of you might roll your eyes at me, but I when you kind of grow up in suburbia, you just don't really see that as much. So. Coming over here, we've got more high-rise buildings, largely offices, shops, and those types of buildings. Department store in the corner right here. We've got hotels in the corner, other corner here of Royal Square. So I just think that's kind of neat. So yeah. So coming over here, I've got like my this is like my favorite park that I built. It's Briarwood City Park. Kind of like that. You've got the ferry that comes in here. You've got a bus there. You've got bicycle lanes. You've got the streetcar line right there. I think it's pretty awesome. And of course, it's ringed with shops, so it's awesome. Got the cafe there. In fact, why not go into first person so you can see it more closely? Got the cafe right there. I'm going to try and pan this slowly. Gazebo. Got an assortment of plants, which is nice. Got extra seating right there by the cafe. You have a trampoline park. And you've got the playground, chessboard, basically all the pieces you'd find in vanilla, because this is on PS4, and obviously I don't get access to mods, unfortunately. I also like the tall building right there. It's almost center with the pathway here, and I feel like that kind of makes sense. It's also kind of nice the way it is and where the other buildings are positioned. Kind of nicely stands out. And one nice touch they added to this park, even though it doesn't really have any real function for the game itself, but I like put out these street vendor stalls. So I like to imagine that you've got people serving up local street food. So I think that's cool. So you just come over here and order it. So yes, this is probably my most favorite park. Actually, I put most of the parks, if not all of them, on the along the lakes, because I think that's a good use of public space. Just kind of, so I forgot to remove the crematorium there, but it's just for visitors who want to come out and have a nice stroll, just get away from the city for a little bit. Like we have Queen Elizabeth Park right here. We've got, coming over this way, David Ewart Park. That's actually an actual Canadian architect. You can look him up. We've also got Gold Rush Grounds over here. And Birdsong Park. And lastly, we've got Arthur Erickson Park over here. That's also another Canadian architect. So, which is conveniently the aforementioned Erickson building is named after him. So I think we should also begin kind of looking at the suburbs. I should probably remember to go slowly and panning around. Over here we've got Vermilion. It's like largely low-rise streets, kind of a subdivision with some arterial streets going through it. We've also coming over this way. This is coming up to one of my favorite suburbs. Over here we've got, it's also the airport, of course. We've also got the New Montreal. Frankly, I'm kind of pretending that this is a French-speaking community. So coming over here, you've got the transit center, or transit hub rather. I like the town center here. So you got like a number of shops that line this area. You've also got the clock tower. We've got pretending this is the town hall, even though it's called the oppression office, but I'm just going to pretend it's just the town hall. I think it's a decent model. I also like for like town halls, I like placing plazas in front just to kind of give them like the space that they can be viewed at. So people can either like be admired or be afraid of the buildings. Also got the theater right here. Like to imagine they have a number of plays that would be in French. Also have a cinema. So I also like the town center. I've also got apartment buildings that are right by it. So I think that's kind of neat. So you got just having added density so people can easily walk to the transit hub right there. They can walk around the town center. I also really like the this park area here, and even though it is generic, of course, we've also, here's kind of like a small tip. If you kind of build this park and you got space to the side here, like you can see, you can kind of easily hide that by using a gravel path, like right here. Just kind of close that up, and then just kind of use the same trees, just like along the side here, so it can naturally make the park look just a little bit bigger than it is. So I also like that we got like a plaza there. We've got office buildings to either side. So this is kind of, and I like it. We got our schools right here. I'm kind of sorry if I'm talking over myself. I've got like 10 thoughts going at once, so I'm trying to kind of lay them out in order. I've also I like the parks along here in the public spaces, because I kind of feel like they make a nice demarcation line between the town center and then when getting out here into single family residential areas. So I think that's neat. So you go from like mid-rise and a little bit of high-rise here and there, just going into low-rise. So that's one way of making it look more natural. Plus you can have like residents in the apartments in the town center, and then also residents in the single family zone area that can all kind of come hang out in the public spaces in between. So I think it's a nice touch. I think this high rise is okay here, as it's further away from the single family, even though it's like right there, but it's like enough open space and further away. I don't think it's the only shadows it's casting. It's largely onto office buildings, so I think it's okay. Coming over here, this kind of designed this campus. This was before Campus Life came to console, but I like the layout of it. Just kind of pretending that these apartment buildings here kind of serve as student housing. And then, yeah, we've also got shops and stuff that kind of line the area. I think it's okay having an occasional high-rise here and there, even in a single family area, so long as there's like some context as to why it's built. Like over here, it's pretending that this is like a family, student housing. Like over here you've got the buses that kind of come in, and then over here you've got the university, so I feel like it makes some kind of sense. Again, I gotta try and quit, and I gotta stop quickly panning. So yeah. And then of course over here the high rises are like connected really close to the town center, so that kind of makes sense as to why you'd want some more population, more density. And of course it's with the town center, there's also a transit hub right there, so it makes a lot of sense. Coming over this way, also got a small cathedral there. Still working on the town, so I've mentioned before, this is all a work in progress. I've also got the hospital here. I like to pretend that serves outlying areas. And then we've also got an industrial park over here for New Montreal. So I think that's a nice touch. Gives everyone in town some jobs. Most of a massive warehouse right there. And if you're wondering what this bridge is, that's cycle paths. I try to lay them out. Well, I actually need to extend this one, but I try to like lay them out next to the road, so people can have an option of either taking their bikes instead of driving. This is also Chirpy Land Lake Resort. It's still incomplete, as you can see. Next to New Burnaby, which happens to be one of the surrounding Burnaby happens to be one of the surrounding municipalities around Vancouver in real life. So, another thing I wish Paradox would add is, I don't know if you know, bi-articulated buses. I don't know if you know what that is. That's, I think some people call them Bindi buses, but I kind of wish they would add them, so you're not stuck with either the bus, which only regular bus, which carries 30 people, and then the streetcar, or otherwise known as the tram, which carries 90. So I feel like with a bifurcated bus, maybe you can have like a bus that can carry like 60 people instead. So I think that'd be nice. Coming over this way, we've got the Green Shores. This is a another suburb. It's kind of a double entendre because you've got the shores here, which are literally green. Then you've also got a number of eco-friendly housing. So I think that's kind of neat. Coming over here, I like this especially. You've got I laid down some bike paths right next to the river bay, so you can basically just kind of bike on them, and you can either look out like to your right or left depending on where you're going. So, and I also like seeing a lot of people using them. Seem to be very very attractive to residents, so I like seeing that. And then coming over here, we've got the kind of another small town center area. Again, I wish instead of streetcars we had bifurcated buses, so I could just I feel like streetcars aren't really appropriate for this suburb. Like, I feel like a bifurcated bus would do a much better job, like at least of like carrying 60 people. So that's kind of unfortunate. We're only stuck with either a vehicle, the bus that either carries like 30, or stuck with the streetcar. You got the Snowfall DLC, which only carries 90. You want to avoid using a metro system, so yeah. And coming over here, we've got the major industrial sector for all of Montrose. It's like a ton of factories, a ton of processing facilities, a ton of services as well. So over here you've got the cargo hub where the train comes in, and then you've also got a one-way street right here, so the traffic can head out from there. So over this way we've got like another little bit of housing, high-rise housing along the shorefront. It's largely offices, green stores. And over here, because of the two tracks that come together, I decided to place down basically an office park. So especially since it's close to the transit hub right here, I think that's a good use of space. So yeah, this is my city so far. I'm going to show you a little bit of stats. Right here I've got traffic. It's at about 74%, which I think it's decent, especially since I avoided the use of highways, which I'll explain in a future video why. So I think that's good. The city largely imports rather than exports, as you can see. And there's some forestry, and I think that's okay. So noise levels, yeah, number of different districts. Yeah, no radio coverage. I decided not to do disaster planning for this city, so let's see. In terms of tourism, it's at 67%, which is the attractiveness, so I think that's decent. Seems to largely be wealthy and medium wealth tourists that it attracts largely, so I think that's okay. So yeah, So I'd be happy to hear some feedback if you'd like on this video, maybe some future recommendations on how I can improve. So bye for now.